consideration to reversing some of the policies that have led to this, maybe reconsidering the Keystone pipeline as the Prime Minister of Canada is here?
Well, I think the problem with that argument is that the Keystone pipeline isn't even really functioning. I mean, it was only partially built. It isn't even really functioning. So suggesting that changing that would lower the price of gas, I don't know that that makes substantive sense.
Well, but the market looks out. And, they look at where it will be in the future, and canceling the Keystone pipeline, not allowing other pipelines to go forward, or challenging other pipelines might reduce or cause some concern in the market.
Well, we look at every pipeline on an individual basis. The president made the decision when only about, I think, 8% of the pipeline had been built not to move forward as we looked at the environmental impacts and weighed them with the economic impacts. And the decision was certainly made. So
the Build Back Better bill for the president. He has touted this, of course, as he did yesterday in Michigan, as a big boost for the middle class. Is he comfortable where the current provisions stand for these state and local tax deductions, given it would be a pretty significant tax break for the wealthy?
the president also, though, it's been conveyed to him by leaders in the House and Senate that this needs to be included in order for this legislation to move forward. And he certainly understands that. And it is a component that wasn't initially proposed. This is a part of compromise. It's not something that would add to the deficit as it is concluded in the package. And certainly we're comfortable with it moving forward.
You are comfortable with it moving forward?
Again, this is not what we proposed, but this is compromise. It's in the package. I just wanted to give you a sense of where it stood.
Does the president support the Senate adding an income threshold to that?
I'm not going to parse different components that are being discussed as we're working to finalize it. The president, again, this is a part of the bill that that has been proposed that is important to key members, as you all know.
While he's meeting with the Mexican president today, do you expect them to come to an agreement on returning to the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy?
I don't believe that's intended to be a big topic at this meeting.
So you don't think they'll come to an agreement on that today?
I think it was previewed as not a major topic of discussion, so I wouldn't anticipate that.
Mexico doing enough to stem the flow of migrants into the U.S.? And I asked that question amid new numbers that show in the last year, I think it was 1.7 million individuals who were detained at the border trying to cross illegally.
This is definitely going to be, as you know, Peter, but just to reiterate, a part of the discussion today.
During a preview call in advance of this, a senior administration official said there is not a real focus this time around on our borders. For those who are concerned about the situation at the border, why isn't that a real focus of today's conversation?
Well, I think they also did talk about, though, how the root causes of migration, including people who are coming from the south of Mexico, or this is how I read the backgrounder, was going to be a part of the discussion. And I can assure you or others who may have confusion about that migration, addressing the root causes, ensuring we're doing it in a humane way, but
meeting with President Xi. American intel agencies have told the president they cannot crack the origins of COVID without China's help. President Biden had a chance to ask for China's help. Why didn't he?
Well, I would say that the president's push for the Chinese to participate more, provide more transparent data and information, we've never held back on that front. We've argued for it publicly. We've argued for it at every level. And the president did talk in his meeting about the importance of transparency, this is exactly an example of.
He talked about the importance of transparency, but did he ask President Xi to cooperate specifically with this U.S. intel agency-led investigation into the origins of COVID?
Peter, it's clear that that's what we want. That's what we've been pressing on. I don't have any more to read out for you from the meeting.
You're saying that it's clear. Is it clear to somebody who has a Zoom meeting with the president that that's what he means if that's not what he says?
I think the president has spoken publicly on this a number of times. Our national security officials have conveyed very clearly, I don't think it's a secret. That's what we want. That's what we've been pressing for.
The president has claimed that they're not. You claimed that they're not. But then President Xi said that they are.
The president this summer told Peter here that he does not consider President Xi an old friend. How would you describe their relationship going into this meeting?
Well, I think I can confirm, Peter, he still does not consider him an old friend. So that remains consistent. The president didn't say that. The president considers him someone he has known for some time, someone he can have candid relationships with. I can't speak for how the Chinese categorize or describe people they know in the world. I can only describe how the president views the relationship.
It's not just the Canadians that are upset. Tesla is upset. Toyota is upset because the bill, as it's written in the House, would give a leg up to the companies that happen to have contracts with the UAW. How committed is the president to keeping that provision in the bill?
The president is pretty committed to the bill providing good-paying union jobs.
Several Democratic lawmakers, outside groups, administration officials have told us they don't think that the administration has a cohesive immigration policy, and that's contributed to the higher numbers, the record numbers that we're seeing at the border. Do you think the administration has a cohesive immigration policy, and how would you characterize it?
We do. We have a bill that the president proposed and put forward on his first day in office.
In the meantime, the legislation is stalled in Congress. In the meantime, do you think there's a cohesive strategy that the White House is implementing based on just executive actions and what you guys do at the border in trying to control the numbers?
Well, again, I would note that those who may be critical could be a part of the solution. The border, yes, increases more recently, but we've seen it in the past as well. And we need a longer-term solution. So
there's a growing sense among world leaders and others that on foreign policy, President Biden is markedly different from former President Trump on tone, but on substance, in some of the ways, it's very similar and not that different than Donald Trump's America First policy. So in light of today's bilats and trilat, I just wanted to give you a chance to respond.
like, what are their examples?
So, for instance, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce told Politico today, President Biden has doubled down on some of Trump's policies and in other cases taken actions that are directly against Canada's interests. I think the two main areas would be trade and immigration, and then a little while earlier on the submarine kerfuffle with the French foreign minister said this is brutal, unilateral, and unpredictable decision. Reminds me a lot of what Mr. Trump used to do, and I can get you more examples.
Sure. Well, look, I would say I'm not sure those are that specific, and I've already spoken to the electric vehicles component. I think it's hard for any analyst to look at the president's approach to re-engaging with allies around the world.
This administration has Trump's policies. How do you distinguish them?
Give me more information. In what way? You're talking about the electric vehicles component?
For instance, lumber also, the same attitude is adopted by this administration as by the previous one.
On lumber, in which way? Are you talking about tariffs or what specific component?
On tariff and how difficult it is for Canadians to access the American market or favor the Americans.
So I would say, again, that I think there are far more differences across the board, and I think probably people from the former president's team would probably agree with this as well, and their approach to foreign policy, than there are similarities.
Can I ask you, forgive me for an update on Fed timing? Is it still?
You don't have to apologize. It's okay. It's an important topic.
The Canadians are in the building. I have to apologize.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Sick burn. You as one.
Built into the DNA.
Yes, built into the DNA.
Next is Thanksgiving as well for the church. Still?
It still remains, as Chris said yesterday, that he intends to make a decision in advance of Thanksgiving, and hopefully all of you financial reporters can rest easily with your turkey and mashed potatoes or whatever.
Not in a quiz way, but
Right. Whatever you say, country, and I'll wink or not. I don't know.
Finally.
Jonathan, you're in a different spot. I'm adjusting.
Different viewpoint. Thank you.
A Canadian Day.
Thank you, Jen. Two quick questions. The first.
Mexican president and the Canadian president. That would just make an added component.